Hey, welcome back to another episode of the She's Making an Impact podcast. I'm your host, Rachel Ngom. Today, we are talking all things Tony Robbins Business Mastery event. If you want to take the island, you've got to burn your boats. Boom, boom, boom. Let me find. Okay. So, the song that I was listening to before I got on is Burn the Ships by For King and Country. And I love that. You can't, like, if you want to reach that next level of success, don't give yourself a way out. Like, literally, it's like burn your ships, take the island, say, I'm going all in, I'm committed, and I'm going to find a way. I'm going to figure this out. Great ideas must be pursued, they don't just come to you. And so you have to sit down and be intentional. A good book, another good book. Keith Cunningham, the speaker, he wrote The Road Less Stupid. And he talks a lot about thinking time in that book and having intentional time set aside where you're pursuing ideas and different things in your business. Don't try to be better than other people in your industry, be different. Oh, this one's huge. Don't start with the how. Start with the target and the result, and program your brain to look for the result, not the how. So often, like, we set a goal and we're always figuring out, like, how is this going to happen? How? And he was training people at the seminar, like, no. Don't worry about the how. Just focus on that end result. You're going to figure out the how. But if you start with the how, it's going to be a lot harder. So focus on that target, that end result. It'll help you get out of your head so much more. Plant your feet and decide. Stop doing research. So he did an intervention with someone at the event. And when he asked her at the end of it, like, what's the action you're going to take? She's like, well, I'm going to spend like a week or two researching and doing this. And Tony was like, no, like, that's the worst thing you could do. You have to take massive action. So stop doing research. You know enough right now to take action to get to that next level. So stop thinking you need to know more, acquire more knowledge, and start taking that massive action. Don't give yourself a way out on something that's important and will change someone's life. Oh, that's good. Don't accept limitations like everyone else does. And so he was invited to go to a Michael Jackson concert at the very last second by Michael Jackson. And everyone was telling him, he's like, there's no way you're going to make it. There's too much traffic. There's that yada yada, like all these limitations. And he was like, no, we're going to find a way. So we figured out how to hire a helicopter. And like, it was just like this crazy, crazy Tony story. But again, in his head, he's like, no, like, I need to get my kids to Michael Jackson. They're going to love this. They're going to have so much fun. We're going to make this happen. I wrote down the steps on how to conquer fear. How to conquer fear. So, step one, every day, feed and strengthen your mind. That's got to be step one. And so every day, stand guard at the door of your mind. You got to make sure you're putting positivity in and you're not letting negativity in. So if there's someone on Facebook or Instagram that just like triggers you, unfollow. If you're watching or listening to the news, especially first thing in the morning, turn it off. It's just like, it's not adding value to your life at all. And program yourself to literally, like, either grab headphones or do something where you're reading a book or listening to an audio or something first thing in the morning. Step two, every day feed and strengthen your body. So don't tolerate excuses for yourself. Do something that's going to help you become stronger. And so that way your brain knows, like, who's in charge, and you're going to get more energy. You're going to feel a heck of a lot better. Three, find a great role model. And so he gave it examples of different role models that he's had in his life and in his business. And he said, find multiple role models in the areas that really matter to you. Step four, proximity is power. And so surround yourself with the people that have what you want or are going to help you up level and get to that next level. So we gave an example. He was invited on this trip with these really, really wealthy guys. And in his head, he was like, how much is this going to cost? Because they said they were going to split it and they were taking a private plane. And he still wasn't making like bank in his business. So he's like, how much is this going to cost? How long is it going to be? How much time am I going to have to take off? Because he was still the operator of his business, not the owner, which means he was like working all the time. all the time. So he's like, okay, it's going to be 2 weeks. It's going to cost me $35,000. I'm just going to tell him I'm going to think about it. And as soon as the guy was like, you're going to think about it, like you're invited with the wealthiest man in Canada and like all these people, and you're going to think about it. And as soon as Tony made that commitment to make that investment of his time and his resources, he was up leveling because he was surrounded. He didn't know travel like that existed at the time, like taking the private jet and that kind of thing, but he learned and grew so much by being around those people, those mentors, people that were at a different level. And then he was able to take them recently on his private jet, which was just like a total full circle moment. Step 5 is give much more than you expect to receive, and you'll never have to worry about abundance. And so start beyond scarcity. And it's when you have nothing is when you give. And so he gave an example of when he had $22 to his name, like broke as a joke, didn't have anything. He saw this kid and wanted to help him buy lunch for his mom because he was such like a sweet little boy, and he gave him all the money he had left in the world and ended up like skipping home. He was so happy and he wasn't worried. And the next day he got a check in the mail for $1,200. And he was just like, for him, it just meant like, you got to start beyond scarcity. You can't get stuck in this thing of I can't afford it. I can't do this. I can't do this. Just give even when you think that you can't. So I remember hearing him say that. And I remember back in the day when we lived in St. Louis and I was getting my master's in social work. We were newly married and my husband just lost his job. And so I was in grad school. I wasn't really making any money except for a little bit with network marketing. And he just lost his job. We were going to have to move and find a new place to live. Didn't have any credit to get, get like an apartment. It was, we were kind of a hot mess back then. And when he lost his job, one of the first things that I did was we went and sponsored Babies with Compassion International. And that was my way of just starting beyond scarcity. It's like, no, don't worry about it. We're going to be fine. Like, we're going to be taken care of. We don't have to stress about not having the money. Let's find a way that we can give in this moment when it seems like we don't have anything left to give. So start beyond scarcity. Oh, okay. Create great content that turns customers into raving fans. So he gave the example of Haggerty Insurance. And Haggerty Insurance is focused on, they're very niche down in auto insurance for classic cars. And they have over 1 million subscribers on their YouTube channel. And think about this. Auto insurance, this is an industry that like everyone hates. Like no one really loves auto insurance. And they have driver clubs that like bring all their customers together, and they are crushing it because they're niche down, but they're creating content that's turning their customers into raving fans. So you can check out like the Haggerty Insurance YouTube channel and see the kind of content that they're creating because they're totally thinking outside of the box, which is really cool. 3 core beliefs to have success in business. So he shared the story of Mel Fisher, who is a person who it took him 16 years to find $500 million in a shipwreck. And so Mel had in his head, he's like, there's a shipwreck. I know the money is here. Like there is treasure here. I'm going to find it. It took him 16 years to find it. And so the notes I took based off of his story is there's unbelievable power to people who persist and they don't give up. Because how many people after 5 years of your life and a lot of money invested into this would be like, it's not worth it. Like, I'm not going to do it. After 10 years, would you be like, I've spent 10 years of my life trying to find this treasure. It's not worth it. After 15 years, would you still be looking for it when everyone's telling you, like, you're an idiot, you're not going to find it, it doesn't exist? And he just had that persistence of, no, like, I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to find a way. What would you have to believe to work that hard for that long in a world where people want instant results? So you got to believe that it's there. I will and I must find it, and it's worth it. It's worth it. So the treasure is in the business and I will find it. So successful entrepreneurs are insanely persistent. Walt Disney, if you haven't watched his movie, Walt Disney, watch it. It's really good. He went to 303 banks to get a loan. 303. He got kicked out of his apartments and just a hot mess for him, but he kept persisting. Colonel Sanders got 1,009 no's on his fried chicken. Holy moly. I wrote down adversity causes some men to break and others to break records. And then I also wrote down pressure is a privilege. That's from Tim Glover. Pressure is a privilege. So the last two speakers that we had, Jesse Itzler and Sarah Blakely, they're actually married. Sarah Blakely is the creator of Spanx, first female self-made billionaire. Jesse Itzler created Marquis Jets, a private jet company. He's a really cool dude. A good book from him that you should read. It's called Living with a Seal, and it's amazing. And he never had experience in anything that he did. So he sold $1 billion private jet company. He had no aviation experience whatsoever. And he said, if no one taught you how to do your job, how would you do it? He also said, self doubt is the enemy to success. How you do anything is how you do everything. And remember tomorrow, when you have a decision to make, remember how that decision will impact you tomorrow. So, like today, if you have a decision to make, think about how is that going to impact me tomorrow? If I say yes to this, how will that impact me tomorrow? If I say no to this, how will that impact me tomorrow? And then he told this story, and this was actually like the craziest thing. He talks about the bus of your life, basically, and that like we're all riding on a bus, and you never know when the bus is going to end, when that ride is going to end. And it was literally as he was telling the story that's when Kobe Bryant died. And it like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna like cry thinking about it. But it's just like so surreal of you never know like when your time is up, you know? So why not live the best life that you possibly can? Oh my gosh, pregnancy hormones, I'm going to cry. Why not live beyond scarcity? Why not live the best life that you possibly can and do the things that scare you and get out of your comfort zone and push yourself and do the best that you can and add massive value because you never know when the bus is going to end. Okay, deep breath. And then Sarah Blakely was the last speaker that I saw because I left a little early to go home with my boys. She actually actively seeks out being embarrassed. So she says, if I haven't been embarrassed in a little bit, I do something that's going to embarrass me. And that way it loses its power over me. When she was growing up, her dad always asked her, what did you fail at? To get her to actually reframe the way that she sees failure. And then after she told him like what she failed at, he'd give her a high five. And then he'd ask her, what was the gift in that failure? Like, what was the gift in it? And imagine having that lesson when you're a kid to like find the gift in every failure and to pursue it. Holy moly. Holy moly. Okay. And then she also said, we have a delusion that we should instantly get what we want when it takes repetition. It doesn't happen overnight. Like the people that you see that are successful now, it took them a lot of trial and error and failures and trying to figure it out. Like you see me and where we are in our business today. I started this overnight, like my first business over 9 years ago, I think. Yeah, something like that. Like almost, it's been almost a decade, you know, like of us being in business and entrepreneurship. And you see where we are now, but you don't see how many times I failed and tried something and sucked and tried it again. And I just kept being persistent and I was so stubborn. And I said, no, I'm going to figure this out. Like, I'm not going to give up. I'm going to figure this out. And even when times are hard and you doubt yourself and you don't think you're going to make it happen, you have more in you that you can give. You have more in you that you can use to serve other people and to make a bigger impact. Okay, so Tony said what's talked about is a dream, what's envisioned is exciting, what's planned becomes possible, and what's scheduled is real. And Jesse said, when your mind is telling you you're done, you're really only 40% done, which is huge. So my biggest breakthroughs at the event, I shared with you so many notes, and that literally this is like a fifth of the notes that I, at least a fifth. Like there's so much more, but just for time's sake, I can't share everything with you right now. My biggest breakthroughs, I had two. Obviously, there's more, but like two that really stood out to me is how simple it'll be to grow our business this year. He gave us just like this simple formula of, okay, let's increase this part by 10%. Let's increase this part by 10%. And it was Jay Abraham's formula that he showed us. And I was like, oh, that's it? Like, that's all we have to do? Okay, like that's so doable. And then the second thing is how different people really see the value of something. So Tony Robbins has something called Platinum Partners, and it's basically like his version of a mastermind. It's $85,000 a year to be a part of Platinum Partners, and they travel all over the world and do like a deep dive finance thing, like a finance workshop where Tony brings in the most like the biggest people in that like sector and bring them together to teach his Platinum Partners about finances, right? And then they have like a relationship day, like all these things. And I remember telling my husband, I was like, man, if I weren't pregnant, I would have done it. Like, I totally would have. And he asked me how much it cost. And I told him, he's like, you could buy a house for that. And we just think differently. Like, he's from West Africa and grew up like in a totally different mentality, right? And for me, I'm like, it's $85,000. But if I learn one strategy that makes us more than $85,000, then it's worth it. And so it's just like a totally different way of seeing things, you know? And so same thing, like I was debating joining a specific mastermind this year, and it's a $24,000 investment. And I was going back and forth and I was like, well, is it going to be worth it? Like, it's a lot of money, right? Like, it's, it's a lot of money. And I was thinking, I'm like, should I go for it? Should I not? And I was like, there could be one strategy that I learn over the course of the year. Like the whole entire year, I don't have to be like so like super excited and gun ho about being a part of this. It's fine. There could be one strategy that I take away from this that easily makes us that $24,000 and then some. And so whenever I make an investment in something now, after being in business for so long, I think about the value of that investment. And a lot of times people look at the cost and they'd be like, oh, that costs $10,000. I can't afford it. Instead of looking at the value of the ultimate transformation they could have by making that investment. And so thinking about how people really think differently. And if you want to be that successful entrepreneur, you need to think about the value of that transformation. If I make this investment in myself, in my business, like the how much this is going to pay off down the road, you know, it's just crazy. Okay, there's so many comments that I'll have to go through, but I really wanted to share this with you and also bring to your attention that we only have 7 spots left in Activate for this year, and they are going fast. And it has been amazing to see the women joining the program already and to see the breakthroughs that they're getting. And this is going to be obviously like your year. 2020 is going to be your year where we're giving you the support and the breakthroughs and the strategies that you need to take your business to the next level with private coaching, group coaching. Like there's so much that goes into it, but ultimately I want to help you increase your income so you can make a massive, massive impact in the world. So if you want to snag one of the last spots and apply, it's application only because not everyone's going to be a good fit. We want to make sure that you have the right mindset to go into the program. And obviously we coach you on mindset, but we want to make sure that we're taking people who are positive, that are contributing, like just to see the ladies in the group already and how much they're supporting each other, how much value they're adding to each other. Like it's just insanity. It is so cool. So if you want to apply, just go to rachelandgom.com/activate, or you could just shoot me a message here on Facebook. I will be around today for sure. Tagging people. Yeah, if you see someone that you're like, or you have someone in your head that you know needs to hear some of these messages today, tag them, share this with them. Like there's so much in this that people just need to hear. Oh my goodness. If you have questions about Activate, shoot me a message and we can chat to see if it would be a good fit for you. I hope you enjoyed these lessons from Business Mastery, and I will talk to you later.